Hey everybody, Jamaison here, and I'm going to work on the largest commission I think that I've ever done. And so I just thought I would film a video. Most of this is probably just going to be a sped up build video, not necessarily going to go through and show you technique. I haven't taken any class for doing landscapes, but I was asked to do a landscape. I've been doing some reading online, looking at some tips, looking at some I was never an art student. I didn't study art. So kind of how do you do landscapes? Jackie Simmons has some amazing tutorials that are relatively inexpensive. It is not a tutorial about how to do a landscape in glass. It is more about how to think about drawing landscapes and such as an artist, thinking about scale and color and that kind of stuff, but it was helpful to me. So I'll drop a link, in fact, into the video notes in case you're interested in going to find those from her. But what I have here is a piece of the new triple aventurine streaky glass from Bullseye. This is part of their Glasscadia line. It's a limited edition. I'm going to be honest, I bought 6 sheets of these and I'm not delighted with them because there's hardly any blue. So I don't know if I just got a poor part of the run. I had some of these exact same sheets from 2018, a lot more blue. It's very, very hard to see the blue in these, so a little disappointed with that. Anyway, I digress. So the landscape that I've been asked to do is basically reminiscent of a river scene. This is the river. Here's a photo, a snapshot. This is the Little River in Townsend, Tennessee, for those of you who are interested. And so while I have explained to my client, who's a very good friend, that this is not going to be an exact replica of that photo. This is an artistic interpretation of that place, but I am using that photo as kind of my inspiration for this. So it's going to be a big piece. I'm going to use the full width of the sheet. I'm going to use the rolled edges that I love about Bullseye, and so it's going to have kind of a natural edge to it from edge to edge, and it's going to be about 18 inches tall. So a sheet of Bullseye is about 22. This will be 22 by about 18. Got an idea for a stand for this, and I'm excited to share with you. So I'm going to go ahead and just start cutting. I'm going to first cut this sheet of triple aventurine. I'm going to cut some blue streaky to kind of become the sky, and I'm just going to kind of start to build this thing out over time. I may stop and explain. I may do a little bit of voiceover what I'm doing. But again, I'm not a teacher. I'm just doing this and filming it on video in case you're interested in kind of following along. So here we go. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm cutting blue, but I didn't want to cover that beautiful aventurine green fully with the blue. So you're going to see me kind of draw some sketch out here and cut a piece off. And then I'm going to backfill that with clear because I want that aventurine green to be really bright green. I didn't want the blue to cover that up in that particular portion. So unfortunately, there's a little bit of a gap then that happens between the blue and the clear because I didn't cut as well as I could, and I just filled that up with some frit. All right, one of the things that I want to do for the riverbank is to make some part sheets, some river rock in particular. So this is the Bullseye Tech book. If you're unfamiliar with this, I can't remember, it was like 15 bucks or something. They published it in 2020. It's really a compilation of a whole bunch of free content that they already have online. If you don't spend some time in the Bullseye website, it doesn't matter what kind of glass you use. There's some amazing tips and tricks and all that. And they've basically, it's all free. It's all online, but they also published it in a book, which is easy and nice reference. So on their website, you can go and look for it. There's a quick tip that's called river rock reaction. And you can see, if I'd stop moving this, as you can see in the book, it really does create something that looks like river rock. So basically this is using 3 different sizes of French vanilla frit and salmon powder. And when you do that, you get this reaction. Now, I'm crossing my fingers that I have salmon powder. I'm pretty sure that I do. Salmon powder sounds like something you'd cook with, but you don't. You are using it to get the reaction that you get between sulfur-bearing and lead-bearing glass. And so I'm going to do this. Now, this instruction calls to do it on a sheet of clear so that you're creating a part sheet. I can't decide if I'm going to do that or not. I probably will. I have some clear scrap. In fact, I just created some. So I may go ahead and pour it out on clear and do it that way. But I'm going to pull this together and fire it first so that I create a part sheet that I can use to build onto my piece that'll go in the kiln in a few days. So let me go ahead and do this. So at this point, I am chopping up some scrap French vanilla that I had around because I wanted some extra large or extra coarse frit, if you will. So I'm just, again, chopping up some scrap here and putting it in. Follow the instructions that are on the free tutorial. So it called for coarse frit, I think medium, and then maybe fine. Obviously, I did a little bit of extra coarse in there as well. And then again, this is a reference that's available. If you don't have the book, it's online for free on Bullseye's website. Just go look for their quick tips on River Rock and you should find it no problem. So I'm adding the other frit sizes into, I just used a bottle here for my mixing. And I have water, and it's just a little distilled water in a needle nose bottle, and I'm squirting it just to get it just barely wet enough. You don't want a lot of water in there, just enough to kind of get the glass a little damp. And then I measure out the salmon powder. Again, there are specific proportions that they recommend. And so I've got my scale and I'm weighing that out. And there you go. All right, here we go. So you may have seen, instead of using Tecta as a base, I had a French vanilla streaky and clear, so I just decided why not more French vanilla? So I put it on that. It was just a piece of scrap. And then I had too much left over, so I just piled it all up in here and I'll fire it. All right, so here are my pieces. Here is the part sheet. Now, if you want to cut this, the best way to do it is flip it over while it's smooth on the back side and cut from there. But there's that piece, and as you can see, I put some pretty big chunks in there, which I'm really happy with because I wanted those to represent, you know, kind of bigger boulders. And then with the leftover, I just poured it all out, and this is what I ended up with there. Very organic shape, quite, maybe you can see a little bit better there. Quite happy with that. So now that I've got these, I can start to assemble and incorporate these into my panel. Here we go. So here I am. You can see this piece is pretty big. My kiln is 24 by 24, and I almost filled a shelf there. And I'm really just trying to kind of place this and decide where I want to put the stuff. As I mentioned, I filled the crack there with some clear frit. That was just clear large frit because I want for volume. I wanted to make sure that there was enough in there. And it worked fine. In the end, you can barely see it because it's all hidden behind other layers that you'll see in a bit. And now I am cutting trees. So I wanted to use some of this French vanilla to make little tree branches and trunks and such for just more layers as I build on this piece. So I full fused that base. Now it's fully fused, and now I'm adding the big piece for the water and the river rock and the trees. And so there's already been one full fuse now of this, and again, I'm kind of building out the other elements. This ends up going into the kiln several times. There I'm adding powder to the tree trunks so that they would be a little bit of a reaction and some color. Here I am bending stringer. So this is just a candle and some stringer, and I'm kind of bending it to make, again, tree branches and just fun, interesting little pieces. These are all becoming elements that ultimately kind of, should I say, kind of become the background and are less prominent. But this is kind of fun to do, and all you need is a little tea light to warm up the stringer and pull them and bend them the way you want. So that's black stringer that I was creating, some kind of darker, shadowy trees in the back, some of the French vanilla stringer that I used to add some thinner branches to those trees, and now I'm picking out just some other colors to do a little bit of accent work around the bottom of that piece. So you're going to see me just continue to add glass to this and keep building on it and keep doing more. There is a little bit of frit there, so I decided the river rock to be the big chunks, and then I just added some frit. You see, that was a firing, by the way. And so now I'm adding a lot of frit. So I mixed up different colors of greens, different yellows together, different reds. I went with some transparents and some opals, and I'm adding these now as now a third layer to build on top of this, and then I'm going to fire it. I don't have the stand done yet, so I need to work with my woodworker to complete the stand. But here is the finished piece. So tons of color. I've got a lot of things here I'm going to show you. So I decided to use, for the river, I decided to use this piece of transparent silver gray, which gives you this mirror finish, because in the photo, that's what really struck me about the river, was how smooth it was and how much of a mirrored finish you got. And what you may have seen in the last video, I added these stringers, which give it the essence of a little bit of a flow. And I don't think this is going to come through on video like I want. Let's see. There is, in each of those stringers, there is a bit of dichroic dust. So it has a ton of sparkle. It truly sparkles like diamonds. You get the reflection of the water, of course, but in each of those stringers, you get some really gorgeous sparkle. I wanted to add a lot of sparkle to this piece. And so, let's see here, kind of go back out. So the, oh, there's some beautiful, lots of glass choice, color choice. This is called aventurine green. You can see all that sparkle. Look at that down here in the ground. There you really get it. Look at all that sparkle in the grass. I used aventurine green in the green part of the trees. You can see those branches that I made and the trunks that I made for the birch. You can kind of see behind there, behind the yellow. And I'm gonna put this up against the window here in a little bit so you can see the transparency. I went with a mix of transparent glass, sorry for the glare, transparent glass and opaque for things like the leaves, so that you get some of the red that comes through in the opaque. I wanted some opacity to it, but I also wanted some transparency as well, so I went with a blend, and that's what you get. I was struck in the photo by the rock that's on the side of the river, and there were a few in the river that you could see, so I tried to represent those. Let me put it up against the window so that you can see. Now what's going to happen is, what you'll see is this river water almost kind of disappears because it really is transparent. While it's got that really cool mirrored iridescent finish, when light comes through, you don't see that as much. And what you're going to see is the blues and the greens that come through. I'll show you that in a bit. All right, forgive me. I just have this propped up here in the shop against the window, so you can see, there is some transparency in the green. You can see the transparency of the blue and the green in the river now coming through. It gives you, almost that mirrored finish. That's what struck me in the photo, was again how smooth that water was, and you got almost a mirrored effect. And so I thought that the green and the blue would come through and represent then what you see almost as a mirror of the trees in the sky. And so you can see there's a lot of transparency coming through the green and the reds and the oranges and yellows. Over here again, you can kind of see the branches of the trees. I hate that this video is not very good. And obviously I want to have the wooden stand and take some really great photos. So a piece this big needs a really substantial stand, and this is where it really, I think, comes to life. So I found in my own neighborhood a guy named Keith with Cool Cutting Designs, and I'll put his website in the video notes. Keith is really an awesome, very talented woodworker, and here he has a piece of live edge wood. It's Texas pecan, and we are routering, is that the verb? we are cutting a channel into the wood to accommodate some metal uprights that I also had manufactured specifically for this. But Keith is with Cool Cutting Design, super great guy. I now have a new friend, and he's going to make more and more glass stands. So stay tuned, and I'll share some more of Keith's work. Here is the finished stand completed. So Rob is on Etsy, and Rob fabricates these metal uprights, and so this is in here. It's super, super sturdy. I love the look of these black metal pieces, and while he custom made these for me, he does other custom work, but he also has some ready-made pieces, and he's offered a promo code. Use Schuler on his website for 8% off. And then here you go. This is the finished piece, all set. This piece is massive. It's very heavy. It sits so nice in this frame, though. I'm in love with it. I love the colors. I love the saturation of all of the color. And I'm very grateful for Nancy, for commissioning me for this piece and giving me some artistic license to really, have fun with it. She is delighted. I am delighted. I've now met two new folks that I can work with to continue to make other glass pieces in the future, both in Robin and Keith. And I'm just really, I can't be happier with this piece, to be honest. And now here comes the tricky part. It needs to ship to Michigan from Dallas here. So I bought a 2x2 piece of plywood, and I covered that with a little bit of foam. And now I am putting the piece on there, and I'm cutting foam around this piece to really create kind of a custom package for shipping. I was so nervous about sending this. I'm happy to say it arrived flawlessly, so that's the good news here. But what you see is I love to reuse stuff as well, so I'm reusing some foam in my studio. I've kind of taped that down so it all stays put, and then I put saran wrap. So I've got this that kind of saran on a roll that can be used, and so I've just put some tape on there to keep it steady, put some extra padding on it with this extra styrofoam. Those cardboard corners there, those edges, those came with a TV that I bought, and I thought they'd be perfect to provide some more stability and rigidity in this piece. And so what you see is I'm just wrapping it with all of that very tight saran, and then I have a piece of cardboard that I use to create another box around it, and tape that up and saran wrap that, and then I took that to UPS and they shipped it for me, and it arrived perfectly. All right, if you don't follow me on Facebook, make sure you do, because there's a lot of cool things happening over there. Thank you for following along. I hope you learned something. Bye-bye.